Assalamu alaikum. I am lecturer غصون صبحي from the Department of Translation, College of Arts, University of Al-Mustansiriyah. Today I'm going to present a PowerPoint lecture for you, my dear fourth year students, on the topic of semantics, and we are going to discuss chapter 2. This is our textbook on semantics, which is entitled Linguistic Simplified Semantics by the author Damodar Thakur. Chapter 2 is entitled Some Basic Concepts in Semantics. We are going to discuss these three terms, which are sentences, utterances, and propositions. What is a sentence? We have to define what a sentence is from a semantic point of view. It is an ideal string of words formed in accordance with the grammatical rules of a language. As a unit of grammar, it is higher than the clause, just as the clause is higher than the phrase, and the phrase is higher than the word. What is an utterance? We have to define it and make some distinction between an utterance and a sentence. So, an utterance is any stretch of language spoken by a person at a certain time and a place and on a certain occasion. Like a sentence, it is by definition a meaningful stretch of language. A meaningless sequence of sounds cannot be considered an utterance. We have to make some distinction between sentences and utterances. So, as we have already said, a sentence is a string of words put together by the grammatical rules of a language, and sentences are abstract idealizations, not physical events, while an utterance is the use of a sentence in a particular context. So utterances are actual physical events. The meaning of a sentence can usually be derived from the meaning of its words, while the meaning of utterances can be derived from the context, which they cannot derive from their abstract form as sentences. A proposition is the semantic content of a simple declarative sentence. Just as the sentence is essentially a grammatical concept, the proposition is essentially a semantic concept. These are some examples of propositions. John is playing football. 2 plus 2 makes 4. So, for example, when we talk about propositions, we can say that propositions cannot be said to belong to any particular language. Sentences in different languages can correspond to the same proposition if the two sentences are perfect translations of each other. For example, if we have this sentence, I'm cold, and when we translate it into French, it will be j'ai froid, and into Arabic, it would be أشعر بالبرد. So here we have three different sentences written in three different languages, but we have the same proposition. Utterances, sentences, and propositions, there are some distinctions between them. For example, the characteristic of being loud or quiet applies only on utterances, not on sentences or propositions. And both sentences and utterances should be grammatical, and they should all be true or false. I mean utterances, sentences, as well as propositions. When we talk about a particular regional accent, this applies only on utterances, not on sentences or propositions. And when we talk about a particular language, this applies on utterances as well as on sentences, but not on propositions. There are some distinctions or differences between the sentence and an utterance. Number one, an utterance needn't be in the form of a complete sentence having a clearly identifiable subject and a clearly identifiable verb. It may well be in the form of only one word, for example, yes, hello, thanks, or it could be in the form of a phrase, for example, at 7 o'clock in the morning, or it could be in operating as a full sentence, for example, after I had finished my work. Number two, sentences needed to be in the form of a sentence or its part. This is the utterance. It may be in the form of a number of sentences in a sequence. Number 3, usually a sentence should begin with a capital letter and ends with an end punctuation mark, while an utterance is preceded and followed by silence. Number 4, if a stretch of language is uttered twice, it will be 2 utterances and not 1. If it is uttered 3 times, it will be 3 utterances. So an utterance is a physical event and not only a grammatical structure. So the accent and voice quality can be applied only on utterances and not on sentences. And we can speak of the time and the place of an utterance, but we cannot speak of the time and the place of a sentence. Now we come to the differences between a sentence and a proposition. Number 1, a sentence is a string of words in a certain order. If we change the order of the words, it becomes another sentence. But if the change in the word order means no change in the meaning of that sentence, and the sentence remains a simple declarative sentence, it continues to be the same proposition. For example, he gave away the books. Or we can say he gave the books away. And we can say he looked up that word in the dictionary, and also we can say he looked that word up in the dictionary. So here we have 2 different sentences, but their meanings is exactly the same. So they can be treated as 2 variants of the same proposition, not 2 different propositions. And we can also say that the same proposition can be expressed by different sentences. So if we change the elements of the sentence, this will result in the formation of another new sentence. But again, if the meaning remains the same, it continues to be the same proposition in spite of the changes in the sentence structure. For example, if we say John envies Jim, and if we say John is envious of Jim, or if we say our neighbor passed away last week, our neighbor died last week. Number 3, a change in the voice of a sentence makes it another new different sentence. But a change in the voice of a simple declarative sentence doesn't make it another proposition. This is the example. John gave Mary a book, or we can say Mary was given a book by John. I wrote this novel, or this novel was written by me. As the propositional content of each pair of these sentences is the same, we can call each pair 2 variants of the same proposition, but not examples of 2 different propositions. So, utterances, can be regarded as semantic entities. These are the propositions, while sentences can be regarded as linguistic or grammatical entities, while utterances can be regarded as actions. Finally, I would like to express my best wishes for you to have a successful academic year, and I would like to thank you all.